And lastly, we have part C and the extra credit. So part C is super simple. All you have to do is add a third student to the tester program called Carol with this ID, midterm, final grade, and then we need to give the same output. So let me see, Carol 56789. So in our student test class, all we have to do is create a third student. I'm gonna steal this stuff. Change this to S3. Change the name to Carol. 56789 is the ID. The midterm and final grades are 81 and 92. So there we go. Let me separate this. So for part C, all you have to do is create another student object, call it S3, whatever you want. Set the name, ID, midterm, final exam, and then you need to print the same output, which we'll do here. S3, S3. Make sure you're using the correct instance to print this stuff. And that's pretty much it. So we can test this. There you go. So hopefully you're fairly familiar with creating new objects. We have our last one here, and everything looks correct. Okay, and so we can do the extra credit really quick. Modify the tester code to put the 3 students into an array list and print the same output list using a loop that runs through the array list. Okay. So for this, we need to use the array list to store and then print out this line for each student. So to use the array list, you have to first import it. Here we go. Okay. And then so rather than printing this stuff out here, what we want to do is create the array list, store each student inside the array list, and then loop through the array list to print each line. So the way we do that is first create the array list like this. Array lists, just like arrays, can only store one data type. So we have to tell it, and they work with any data type. So the way we tell an array list what data type it's going to store is with this less than greater than, and you put the data type you're going to store here. We'll call the array list students, and then you create a new array list like this. Again, you put the student part here, and like that. So this is your new array list that stores students. And then, now that we have the array list, we can go ahead and add these students into the students list, and you do that with the add method. So we'll do S1, just copy it. So normally with a regular array, you would allocate an array of size 3 to hold the students, and then you'd say students at 0, students at 1, and students at 2 equals student S1, S2, and S3. But the array list encapsulates an inner array, so we have to access that inner array using the add method. Okay. So now our array list has the students, and now we need to loop through the array list and print out some lines. And there's a couple ways you can do this. So let's get ready to iterate. Students. So students does not have a length. Use something called size rather than a length. Okay, and then now we need to print this line. but we have to make it generic. Okay. So what we want to do is, so we have to access the, we want to access the element at this ith index. So we'll just call it student x equals, and the way to access an element inside an array list at an index is you use the get method. Get I. So what this does is it returns to me the ith element inside the student's array list, and I assign it to a variable called x, and then here we go. We just swap the s1 with I, so it's printing out the current student, and then we can go ahead and run this. Here we go, and it works exactly the same. I commented these out here, and I loop through it here. The second way to do it is to use an enhanced for loop. So I'm just going to print out an empty line here. So you can actually use an enhanced for loop with array lists as well. So for student x in students, we want to print out this line. Alright, so these do the exact same thing. One, I have to use get. This with the enhanced for loop, it does it automatically for me. So we can run this again. So here's the output with the regular for loop, and here's the output with the enhanced for loop. It's the exact same, but the enhanced for loop is a little bit simpler.